Hey everyone, so just going to have a chat today about the industry that I work in, why I do what I do, and I guess just some other aspects of health and well-being. So my own name is Angela. I've been working in the industry for about 10 years. For about 9 years of that, it was all face to face. So I was like working in a gym setting, on the floor with clients, in the swimming pool. And then, thanks to COVID, I decided to take my business online. I was a bit reluctant at the start because it was, something out of my comfort zone, something I wasn't used to. But it's turning out quite well, which is a super bonus. I guess why I do what I do, it stems from being quite an active child. Like I was always energetic, always active, right up from I think the minute I could walk, right up until like college, and thankfully I've always kept that energy and physical activity in my life. And when I thought I could use that to, build a career for myself, I thought it's a no-brainer essentially because, something that you love to do and something that you enjoy, it doesn't really feel like work. It obviously is, but it doesn't require a whole lot of effort because I enjoy the work. So it definitely makes it a lot easier to, get up early in the morning and put in the time. So I'm very grateful for that. I suppose why I do what I do. I suppose I've grown to love and learn about how important exercise is for not only like my physical well-being, but like for my mental well-being over the last 15, 16, 17 years. And I thought God, I wonder could I show other people how you can use exercise to feel better physically, mentally, how to eat better and look after your body in order to just feel good in general. When we feel good on the inside and the outside, it just shows. And generally every other aspect of our lives tends to improve as a result of that. So I guess why I do what I do is because I have a passion for it. I believe in exercise, I believe in good nutrition, and I love to help people. So squashed all those together and decided to do online coaching. With the online coaching, initial consultation with a client, at the moment it's all online, so it's a Zoom call or a phone call depending on what the client wants. You gather as much information as you can from the client, and then you create a program based off their needs and abilities and what they're capable of doing. As you get to know the client over a period of weeks and months, you get to know what they're able to do, what their limits are, when to push them, when to pull back, and when to make changes. A lot of the time we kind of think, right, I need to change my program every 4 to 6 weeks. But if that client is still finding it quite challenging after 6-8 weeks, there's no point in progressing it on if they're not hitting those milestones essentially. So if they're still finding it quite challenging, out of your rate of perceived exertion scale, if they're still finding it 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, then you should be happy to leave it at that. Maybe change the tempo, increase some of the reps if they're finding it challenging, but essentially the whole program doesn't need to change as frequently as you might think. You have your foundational exercises in there, your push-pull for lower body, your push-pull for upper body, anything, your squat-based exercises, your rowing-based exercises, push, bench press, that kind of thing. But it all comes down to what the client is able to do. Some clients may have medical conditions that require them to, keep their arms below shoulder height. They mightn't be able to go from a lying down position to a standing position very quickly. So all those things have to be taken into consideration when you're designing their program initially. But it is all down to communication, asking the client how they're getting on, how they're finding things, if they feel like they could push themselves a bit more. If they feel like it's too difficult, then it's about reining it back. So just progressing and adapting as you see fit, but it's down to that two-way communication. I guess to move on from that then and kind of just talk about health and well-being, and I guess the importance of exercise when it comes to your health and well-being. I guess one of the first analogies that I remember being taught about years ago in college, I guess, was a car driving around. And if you imagine a car driving around with no exhaust and the fumes just building up in it all day long, it's going to become toxic, and it's going to become deadly essentially to be in. And that's like the human body. If we're not letting off that steam, if we're not burning off that energy, the energy that comes in the form of calories, or that stress that comes in, if we're not getting rid of that, that's going to manifest in the body, as stress. We're going to get aches and pains, we could get sick because of it. And it's so important to use exercise to burn that off, because essentially that's what it is. Exercise is that tool, it is that exhaust to get rid of that toxicity out of the body. Your skin is designed to perspire, to get rid of sweat, get rid of toxins out of the body. And essentially that's how important it is, because it helps to regulate hormones, it helps to bring down your blood sugar levels, it helps to balance your temperature and things like that. It plays a vital role. And I think nowadays, because our lifestyle has become so sedentary, like, I don't know if you remember, you might know in the class that you're in, is 20 years ago, like, you had to get up to change the channel on the TV. It was all buttons, like, you had to get up and change it. With the phone line, you had to get up and walk out to the hallway to answer the phone. You had to walk everywhere to get whatever you needed, go to the shops. Everything was prompting us to be more physically active, whereas now everything is like telling us to like sit down. We could literally do anything from the palm of our hand, order food, order a delivery, order clothes, whatever it is. We can literally do whatever we need to in the palm of our hand now. So our lifestyle now has made us more sedentary than ever. So I suppose exercise now requires a lot more effort. We have to like plan for it. We have to like organize it. We have to make more of an effort to be more physically active. Just because our environment now is changing and our lifestyle is changing. So I think now more than ever, we're realizing how important exercise is, because it's been essentially like pushed out of our lifestyle. And like, we've seen all the science, how important it is to exercise, but it's still quite a hard thing to get up and do. A lot of people might feel self-conscious going into a gym. It mightn't be their place. They might think, oh, I'm too overweight to go in there, and that's not the whole point of it. Exercise is supposed to be accessible. It is accessible because essentially exercise is anything that requires physical movement. So if you're potting around the house cleaning, if you're going out for your walk, if you're walking the dog, if you're cleaning the windows, if you're hoovering, all that is physical activity. And that all adds up over the course of your day in terms of the calories that you're burning. But we'll say if we're just talking about the gym, going into that gym environment, that social aspect of it, feeling a part of something, that plays a huge role in our health as well, because we feel like we're a part of something, that connection to a club, to other people, and it gives us that sense of belonging. And that's also important for our health too, because, now more than ever, we're disconnected, even through the online, our online presence, like, all the apps, we can chat away to each other, like, but you can't be a sit down conversation, a face-to-face meeting where you're just hashing out the troubles of life, whatever it is that you're just kind of going through your day, and you can kind of be a bit realer with people. Whereas on the phone you can like hide back and not really say how you're feeling, like, oh yeah, sure, look, I'm grand, whereas like when you're face to face, it's much harder to hide that, especially if you meet up with good friends, like, they'll see it on your face, like, oh, you're not doing too well, so in terms of like going into a gym and that atmosphere, it's super important, because like there is that connection, and there is that whole aspect of feeling like you belong somewhere. So that's another huge bonus of being involved in like fitness classes, or just a gym, whatever it is. Like, I think any client that I've ever had has enjoyed being a part of a class or a group to some sort, because of the crack, because of like hanging, like, getting to meet people, getting to have the chats, whatever it is, before or after training, and still doing something that, they still find enjoyable. They might find it tough in the moment, but before or after, they're having the laugh. So, that's where the association is. So in terms of like, to just jump into like your training there and that, exercise, I suppose, it's not just for like weight loss and feeling good, structurally, it's important as well to be physically active, so you can look after your posture. When you're in school or college or whatever, if you're in a sit down job, your posture can be affected, like we're slouching forwards, or if we're driving, we're kind of leaning to the side, we're using one arm all the time on the gear stick, and that can cause little imbalances in the body where your muscles are just outlying and things like that. They're not as strong on one side as they are on the other. And I guess, having a good posture is important, because If your posture is off, you're more inclined to get injured. Kind of silly things you'd pick up injuries from because of poor posture, because your body isn't able. Like we'll say, if you're hunched over, your body is essentially being stretched all the time. And if you apply like a sudden force on that, chances are you could get injured. So yeah, your posture plays a huge role in your structural movement. If your posture is off, you're going to find it challenging to do certain exercises. Like if you're sitting down all day and you're trying to get into a squat in a class, you might feel very tight in the hips. So trying to combat the sedentary behaviors and the posture that you might be in for long periods of time through exercise is a good way to try and keep yourself aligned, that you're essentially like avoiding problems down the road, that you're not going to be hunched over, that you're not going to have back problems, that you're not going to have hip problems, neck problems, all that kind of stuff. So posture is super, super important when it comes to exercise as well. Like I said, it's not just down to like weight loss and getting that six pack and all that kind of stuff. In terms of warming up and cooling down, it's always good to prepare your body for what is about to happen. Now, if you're going out for a walk, you might start off like nice and easy and then pick up the pace in general. But if you're in a gym, what you want to do is, I suppose, like you want to mimic the exercise that you're going to do in your session through your warm-up. So you're preparing those muscle groups. Like it's pointless doing like push-ups and pull-ups in your warm-up if you're going to do a lower body session. It needs to be applicable to what area that you're going to work throughout your session. So having a good warm-up and cool down phase in your training is an important aspect of your training too, because essentially your warm-up is preparing your body for what's about to happen, and your cool down then is bringing you back to like that normal state again, so that your blood pressure is not too high, your heart rate's not too high, that you're like coming back down to a normal level, so you can like get into the car and head home or whatever it may be. Because we'll say if you kind of finish with your HIIT session and fly out the door, you're still sweating, your heart's still flying out your chest, and you get into the car and you're sitting down in for half an hour, 40 minutes, the blood is going to pool around the body, so you're not getting enough circulation. So the cool down is very important there as well. Just to touch on nutrition a little bit, it is very, very complex when it comes to nutrition. Because everyone's diet is going to vary, their nutritional needs are going to vary. Like a 17-year-old teenage boy is going to completely vary from a 40-year-old woman. So it's about working with the individual, like what their needs are, and trying to advise them like what is the best thing for them to have in their diet for them to get the results that they're looking to achieve. With nutrition for performance, it's so important to fuel your body, because essentially that's what food is for our body. It's fuel. We fuel it before we exercise, we refuel after exercise, so our muscles can get that nourishment that they need. All depending on the exercise that you do and the intensity that it's at. Your body requires protein for recovery and growth of the muscles, and you need a certain amount of carbohydrates in there to help like replenish your glucose stores, that your muscles can like recover and be ready for like the next day. So it does depend on the intensity of the exercise that you're doing, but essentially it is like, can't stress enough how important it is to fuel before a session, get enough protein, get your fats and carbohydrates in there before a session, and then your protein and carbs after a session, so that you're refueling. Because essentially when you exercise, no matter the exercise, you're damaging your muscles. And when you refuel, you help to bring your muscles back to a better condition. Whereas if you're not inclined to refuel after exercise, your muscle is left damaged and it has to repair itself out of whatever nutrients are left within the body. Whereas we want to try and give it fresh nutrients and to build it back up to a better capacity. So I guess like with nutrition, there are windows before and after exercise that need to be taken into consideration. They can vary depending if you're male or female. Males generally have a longer window for recovery after exercise, whereas females don't. Just to give an example there, like, a woman that has performed a weight training session, generally their like feeding window after exercise is anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes after a workout to get your refuel in. For males, your recovery window can last anywhere from an hour up to 3 hours after exercise. So you kind of have a little bit more flexibility as a man when it comes to training. So I hope this was helpful. I hope I didn't waffle on too much, and if you have any questions or want to just discuss anything else in the video a little bit more, I'd be happy to help you out. If you want my email address, just let me know and I will get in touch. Thanks a million.